already wounded, so he goes down. Dwarfs still lose, but they roll a 4 for their break test, so this is still an ongoing combat. Boy, these Pegasus Knights have to be embarrassed. They cannot hurt those Dwarfs. And just an overview at the end of the turn. Now, on the Dwarf turn, as predictable, the Dwarf Quarrelers in the bottom right-hand corner charge into the side of the Pegasus Knights. The Warriors go into the Men-at-Arms, and the Ironbreakers go into the Mounted Yeomen. Mounted Yeoman takes a few hits of the axe on the top of the head, and he goes down without a fight. The Ironbreakers and Thane choose not to overrun. Okay, and here's the combat between the Dwarf Warriors and the Men-at-Arms. Go, Bretonnian peasants! You can see the only death was the champion of the Men-at-Arms, the painted guy who was in the front middle. No one else went down. Other than that, it was just a pillow fight. So the Bretonnians had one more rank because of that shooting that I'd mentioned earlier, and they had outnumber. So the Dwarfs had a wound. The Brets were up by 2 in static combat res, so the Bretonnians actually win by 1, and Dwarfs needing only an 8 to hold, roll an 11. So start turning around and running there, little Dwarfs with your stubby legs. They do manage to get away though, because they roll they roll a 10, take 1 off for their special short leg rule or whatever the rule is called. They get a 9, but the Men-at-Arms only manage to roll a 4 to pursue. This combat wasn't such a good thing for the Pegasus Knights. Even though one more cannon crewman went down, obviously the static combat res for the Dwarfs is much higher. They have outnumber, they have a flank, they have a rank, and it looks like someone managed to do a wound, so you got your 8 minus 4 would be 4 not to break, but I must have counted something wrong. That wound must have been there from before, because I remember the Pegasus Knights did just barely hold, so I probably, that probably shouldn't count that wound. That probably should be some other time. Oh wait, no, the wound was real, but there was a wound put on one of the Dwarfs, so those cancel each other out. It's just the rank outnumber flank. 8 minus 3 is 5. You can see they rolled a 5. Yep, the Pegasus Knights held. Let's see, this must be the beginning of the next turn here. I'm not sure what I'm seeing there. I'm guessing... So I was guessing that was the rally roll for those guys right there, but yeah, no, that can't be it, because... Oh, I know what this is. Yeah, that's right. The Dwarfs charged the Men-at-Arms and broke during the Dwarf turn. So in the Bretonnian turn, that's their the Bretonnian Men-at-Arms charged into the back of the Dwarfs who were already fleeing, and that's their flee roll. So the the Dwarf Men-at-Arms fled right off the table. I gotta get my head straight here. I'm sorry, folks. In the shooting phase, the Bretonnian bowmen did a little sidestep action just to make 100% sure they're out of the charge arc of those Dwarf Ironbreakers, and they shot at the Ironbreakers too, but man, that Grommerl armor's tough. They didn't take down a single guy. So now, combat phase again, this one occurring in the Bretonnian turn. You've got the no wounds exchanged by either side. It was just a big pillow fight, but again, we got flank, outnumber, rank. So the Dwarfs win by 3, but amazingly the Pegasus Knights roll a 4 and keep hanging in there. The Ironbreakers decide to, and this is the beginning of the Dwarf turn here. Such a small battle, the turns come awfully fast. They just kind of roll one into the other. The Ironbreakers decide not to go for the bowmen. I was briefly thinking, take the Thane out of the Dwarf unit and charge the bowmen, but I don't think a real Dwarf player probably would have done that. One, he would have been able to be targeted by the bowman for shooting. Two, Dwarfs obviously have the game pretty well wrapped up with that cannon shot early on, so no point taking a huge risk here. So they're going to go for the men-at-arms instead. All right, and now it is combat. So this time the Pegasus Knights don't do as well. Again, looks like each side exchanged a wound. Static combat res gives 3 to the Dwarfs. They needed to roll a 5 or less. They rolled a 8 there. So panic test for the one surviving Pegasus Knight. Or not panic test, a flee for the one surviving Pegasus Knights. He runs a long ways. I don't remember exactly how much. The Dwarfs just run into the side of the cannon there because it's kind of in the way. Clip the edge of their unit. They can't go any further. The dwarf crewmen are stubborn, and with that special rule, Gunner's Pride, they cannot pursue. It's just not allowed. So now the beginning of the Bretonnian turn, and the Pegasus Knight does rally, but he's going to be toast because he's a good target for that cannon. But he did rally, if that means anything. The men-at-arms, at this point, the game's almost over. They're thinking, let's just face this charge from the Ironbreakers to the Thane. Maybe we'll get lucky. Who knows? Get the Thane down, get half points, something like that. Desperate times call for desperate measures. The peasant bowmen notch up their arrows, take a shot, manage to take down one coroller. Doesn't really matter, but a small moral victory for the Bretonnians. And just wrapping things up here, the beginning of the dwarf turn, they take a shot. The X or the dot on the one dice where the cannon lands, takes down that Pegasus, gets a perfect bounce, so all the Pegasus Knights are gone now. Alright, now this is just showing that the Ironbreakers have charged into the the Ironbreakers have charged into the Bretonnian men-at-arms. Unfortunately, I forgot to take a picture earlier on. Those two guys aren't actually dead yet. That comes later. This is just showing that the... Oh, and I had the pictures out of order here. Apparently, I put the cannon shot at the beginning of the turn, even though I know movement comes first. This is where the cannon shot would have actually occurred, and this is also showing the Corlers got some revenge for their one fallen comrade by picking off one bowman. Again, nothing but a moral victory. Okay, so now we're ready for the combat involving the Ironbreakers. So, this is kind of funny. The Dwarfs went first. Trying to remember what happened here. Oh yeah, the Dwarfs went first, took down two guys, which I've already removed. Didn't specify which two guys. So what I did was I had the two guys that are in base contact with the Thane direct their attacks at him, just hoping to get lucky. Need 5s and 6s to hit. Got 2 5s. Needed 5s and 6s to wound. Got 2 6s. And then he has, because he didn't use his great weapon, he went with just hand weapon shield combo. He saves anything but a 1 and rolled a 1 and a 2. Oh, the Thane only has 2 wounds. He came so close to going down at the hands of plain old peasant men-at-arms. But, oh well, it wasn't meant to be. Did get half points for him, though. And this is the beginning of the... Oh, and by the way, in that first round of combat, everybody held. This is the striking back of the Bretonnians here. Or, I'm sorry, of the Dwarf Thane. The next round of combat, he gets his revenge pretty heartily. You see the break test roll of the Bretonnians there. Not even close to enough. They either got ran down or went off the table, one of the two, I don't remember. It was the last turn of the game, so even if they were fleeing, it wouldn't have mattered at all. So, that's the game there. Really, not a lot to show. Yeah, Dwarfs blew the Bretonnians just completely out of the water. At the end of the game, all they had left was their peasant bowmen skirmishers. So, really not that realistic of a game. I acknowledge that, but at least I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see how it works in terms of the using the editing in Adobe Photoshop Elements. Thanks for watching.